William Campbell was an American actor who appeared in supporting roles in major film productions and also starred in several low-budget B-movies and horror films. Career. Campbell's film career began in 1950, with a small part in the John Garfield film, The Breaking Point. After several years of similar supporting performances in a number of films, including as a co-pilot in William Wellman's The High and the Mighty, he won his first starring role in Cell 2455 Death Row, a low-budget prison film for Columbia Pictures. He played a death row inmate, based loosely on the true story of Carol Chessman, who staunchly proclaimed his innocence and obtained numerous reprieves over many years until finally being executed. Campbell's surprisingly powerful performance received generally good notices from critics, but it did very little for his career. His next several roles were again providing support to lead actors, including Love Me Tender and the 1958 film version of Norman Mailer's The Naked and the Dead. In 1958, Campbell co-starred with Paul Birch in Cannonball, a short-lived television series about truck drivers. After that, he toiled for more years in small parts in increasingly lower-grade movies. Campbell made 2 guest appearances on Perry Mason in 1959 and 1960. In his first appearance, he played the title character and murder victim Alan Sheridan in The Case of the Artful Dodger. Then he played murderer and title character Jim Verse in The Case of the Ill-Fated Faker. In 1963, Campbell began a brief association with Roger Corman, starring in the director's The Young Races that year. The auto-racing-themed movie, written for the screen by Campbell's brother Robert Wright Campbell, was shot in Ireland. After production was completed, the film's sound man, Francis Ford Coppola, talked Corman into allowing Coppola to remain in Ireland with a small crew and direct a low-budget horror film, to be produced by Corman. Coppola promised it would be the cheapest film Corman was ever involved in. Campbell starred as a moody loner who at one point becomes the chief suspect in a series of gruesome mass killings. Patrick McGee and Luana Anders led the supporting cast. Many years later, Campbell would provide an audio commentary for the film's DVD release. Campbell also starred in another Corman-produced horror yarn, filmed in 1963 in Yugoslavia under the title Operacija Attribution, again with McGee in the cast. The film was never released in its original form. It was re-edited, redubbed and briefly shown on television as Portrait in Terror. Years later, additional footage was shot in California, first by Jack Hill, then by Stephanie Rothman, transforming what was once a spy thriller into the story of a vampire stalking the streets of Venice, California. Retitled Bloodbath, although it also became known as Track of the Vampire, the film received a limited theatrical release in 1966. Campbell's character was an artist who killed women and hid their bodies in his sculptures. He is also a vampire who can freely walk during the daylight in search of victims. However, the fanged vampire was confusingly played by another actor who did not resemble Campbell. Like Dementia 13, the film has managed to develop a cult following, despite its deficiencies. In the early 1990s, Video Watchdog magazine devoted lengthy articles in 3 separate issues painstakingly detailing the convoluted production history of this strange but fascinating movie. Campbell has also obtained cult status for his guest-starring roles on Star Trek, appearing first as the mischievous superbeing Trelane, in an episode of the original series called The Squire of Gothos. Campbell also appeared twice as the Klingon Captain Koloth. Campbell first played Koloth on the original Star Trek series in the classic episode, The Trouble with Tribbles. He reprised the role on the series' Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode entitled Blood Oath. Some 30 years later, Campbell appeared at several Trek conventions in the 1980s and 1990s, and many Star Trek fans consider Campbell's portrayal of the Trelane character as the first introduction of the Q culture to the series. His last appearance was at the convention organized by Creation Entertainment at the Las Vegas Hilton in August 2006. Personal life and death. Campbell was married 3 times. His first marriage was to Judith Exner in 1952. They divorced in 1958. His second wife was Barbara Bricker. They were married from 1960 to 1961. He married his third wife, Teresa, in 1962. They were married until his death. He died quietly on April 28, 2011, at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, California. Partial filmography. Breakthrough as a CPL. Danny Dominic. The Breaking Point. Operation Pacific. The Talker. The People Against O'Hara. Battle Circus. Small Town Girl. Big Leaguer. Escape from Fort Bravo. Cabot Young. The High and the Mighty. Hobie Wheeler. Battle Cry. Running Wild. Man Without a Star. Backlash. Love Me Tender. Brett Reno. Man in the Vault. Tommy Dancer. 18 and Anxious. Pete Bailey. The Naked and the Dead. The Sheriff of Fractured Jaw. The Young Races. Dementia 13. The Secret Invasion. Hush, Hush. Sweet Charlotte. Bloodbath. Pretty Maids All in a Row. Black Gun. Television. Cannonball 47 episodes. Jerry Austin. Philip Marlowe episode. Murder in the Stars. Rich Darwin. Stagecoach West episode. Never Walk Alone. Cole Eldridge. Gunsmoke episode. Old Dan. Luke Fetch. The Wild Wild West episode. The Night of the Freebooters. Sergeant Bender. Star Trek episode. The Squire of Gothos. Trelane. Star Trek episode. The Trouble with Tribbles. Koloth. It Takes a Thief episode. A Spot of Trouble. Pierre Gropius. Bonanza episode. The Late Ben Cartwright. Wilburn White. O'Hara, U.S. Treasury episode. Operation Big Store. Arnie Christensen. Ironside episode. Buddy, Can You Spare a Life? Walter Booth. The Streets of San Francisco episode. Chapel of the Damned. Counts. H.E.C. Ramsey episode. Scar Tissue. Vince Alexander. The Streets of San Francisco episode. Flags of Terror. Calendar. Policewoman episode. Ice. Emery Kehoe. Gunsmoke episode. The Squaw. Striker. Shazam episode. The Contest. Officer Ken Taylor. The Streets of San Francisco episode. Underground. Johnny Blackwell. The Hardy Boys. Nancy Drew Mysteries episode. Will the Real Santa Claus? Markham. Quincy Emmy episode. Quincy's Wedding. Parts 1 and 2. Dr. Sutter. The Return of the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. TV movie. General Forrest. Star Trek. Deep Space Nine episode. Blood Oath. Koloth. Kung Fu. The Legend Continues episode. Chill Ride. Wolf.